Welcome to 27th National Beekeepers Conference and Techno Fora. With a motto, aligning apiculture to agri-eco awareness. August 17th to 19th, 2023 at the Ritz Garden Oases, Davao City.
Maayong hapon. Maayong hapon. Lagi matulog pag humanod pa ni Ugtun. Ako din si Patrick Belisario. Ako si Patrick. Magandang hapon sa mga taga-Luzon. Magandang hapon. Wala namang foreigner, no? Pero may foreigner na Bisaya na. So, it's okay. Okay, so thank you very much for the invitation. Dako ang kalipay na imbitahan ko kay I can share to you my other passion on promoting organic agriculture. So I'll be discussing the organic agriculture standards for apiculture / beekeeping. Okay, so that will be my topic. Then I will be limiting my discussion on the standards itself. But I know that your industry is very interesting because plants need to bear flowers and fruits, and bees, pollinators like bees are playing a very important role, a very vital role. So that's why organic agriculture promotes a natural system, and apiculture or beekeeping is very aligned with the natural system. It's not a missing piece, but it is very vital. No? But I think the term is it is silently promoted. No? I mean, there's not much noise I've heard about your sector, but I know this is a very important sector. Okay, so as I've said, I'm focusing my presentation on this. And just to introduce myself, very small. Okay. I took up my agricultural engineering degree in SimBee University way back in '95. Then took up my master's on development management in 2005. Then my first profession is I'm a registered professional agri-engineer. Now it's called agriculture and biosystems engineer. So it's a good name. Then I have my consulting services. I'm doing consultancy on organic agriculture, focusing on international marketing or organic export, particularly on certifications, standard setting, and inspection. My main focus in certification is organizing smallholders so that they can supply the exporters and they can participate in the international market. So I've been in this business for 20 years now on certification. And 5 years ago, I started also my business in chocolate. So I'm doing chocolate here in Davao. I'm a resident of Davao for the past 10 years. Then 5 years ago, I opened the chocolate, and we are supplying main market is healthy options. You can find our brand as Coscow, means coconut sugar and cacao. So it's a combination of coconut sugar and cacao. We won the Social Enterprise Award in 2021 during the pandemic. We were awarded by Bayan Academy and BPI Foundation. Okay, so as I mentioned, I've been promoting organic agriculture since 2003. So it's now my 20th year, and we started OCCP, if you know, the Organic Certification Center of the Philippines. So I registered OCCP, organized the board, organized the members, etc. Then I co-chaired the technical working group in drafting the Philippine National Standards way back in 2003. Then we revised the Philippine National Standards in 2016. So from 2003 to 2016, so that's 13 years, no? So very long. Usually, revision sa organic standards should be around 5 years, every 5 years. But in our case, we're very slow in the Philippines in terms of adapting, revising, and aligning our standards with international. So I've been doing international inspection in Asia Pacific. Then I help companies export to Europe and US. So basically, my professional background, I've spent a lot of time in the organic sector. You know? Okay, so that's my background. Then on the PNS, just a background. The PNS is nothing more like a minimum requirement. It's not a statement of strict practices, but only requires the minimum. It's not the best practice, but at least the minimum requirement. So if you happen to read any standard or organic standards, it requires you to comply with the minimum, not the maximum. Okay, so let's take note of that word. No, it means the least that is required in the standard to obtain an organic quality is the statement in the standard. Okay, so in the national standards in 2003, we have basically covered crop production. Before crop production, we have conversion. So we have conversion, crop production, animal production, then processing, then special products. So those are the components of the Philippine national standards. Where will apiculture comes in? In 2003, there's no specific standards for apiculture or beekeeping, but it is part of the special products, along with herbs, mushroom, and wild-crafted products. So that was in 2003. Then in 2016, when we revised the standards, I became a member. Together with Dr. Cleophas Servancia. We insisted that there must be a separate standards for apiculture, because at that time, aquaculture has their own standards. Some commodities have their own standards, like we have also specific standards for organic rice and organic rice milling. So in that period, we said there must be a separate standard for apiculture. Okay, so this is the details now. So I'll discuss the details on the beekeeping or apiculture, then mention some of the relevant standards on labeling and traceability and record keeping. Okay, next. So this is what I just mentioned in 2003. Then in 2016, we revised the standards and we aligned it with the ASEAN standards for organic agriculture. Yeah, so those are the basic, no? So now from special products, we put emphasis that apiculture should have its own. So we now have a minimum requirements for apiculture. Okay, so you can read this in the PNS, the foreword. Next. So there are 10 items in beekeeping, organic apiculture / beekeeping. Before I start, would you agree with my statement that basically beekeeping or organic or apiculture is basically organic? Yes? Sino ang fan? Who's agreeing with me on that? Yes? Okay. Good to see so many hands. Who will disagree with me? Okay, so that's why you understand my interest in beekeeping or apiculture, because it's basically aligned with the natural system or the organic system. But of course, there are nuances that makes your beekeeping non-organic. So we will discuss the details on that in the PNS. Next, please. Okay, number one is the choice of species. Okay, so in the standards, the species preferred for use in organic beekeeping include the honeybees, Asian honeybees, Apis dorsata, ligula, Apis serrana, and stingless honeybees, Tetragonella, and Lepidotrigona is female. Okay. The exotic honeybee species, Apis mellifera, may also be considered. So take note, the word is may. It means all species are basically can be part of the organic. No? I think the last priority is the exotic species. The first priority, or that can be part of the organic system, are the native, the local species. No? Okay, so that's the first one. Next is hive or material design. So there are basically two parts of the standards. No? The system. One is from the wild, the other one is from the culture. No? When we say wild, meaning there is collection happening, and there is no human intervention except for harvesting, collecting the honey. No? So that's basically wild, or we call it forest crafting in the old standard. The other one is if you do culture, then you are dealing with the hives. So the most important thing in the hive material is the non-treatment of your hive material. Meaning there must not be chemical treatment of the wood that is used in the housing of the bees. No? Okay, so no treatment. Then number 3, the location of colonies, apiaries. Okay, so I mentioned if it's wild, or it's either wild or hive. No? So the term is wild or hive. For both, the location should be 3 kilometers away from source of contamination. So what are the sources of contamination? If there are plantations nearby, make sure that the location of your either the collection site or the colonies are 3 kilometers away. So how can you measure that? Okay, so either you measure that in Google Map or measure it by distance. No? Then the other one, what's interesting, for stingless bee, the distance should be at least 500 meters away. Okay? Because their foraging area is smaller compared to the wild and the hive colonies. No? Okay, then another provision is if you migrate, if you transfer your hive colonies from one place to another, make sure that you are documenting also the location, so that that's verifiable and traceable later on. Recording is important if you migrate or if you transfer your colonies every now and then. There are factors. Siguro kung wala nang foraging area, naubos na yung pollen, naubos na yung mga sources of food nila, then you can move your colonies. No? Then the other one, the nest of wild or feral colonies of honeybees and stingless bees, etc., should be identified prior to harvest. So I think this refers to the wild harvesting. So it should be identified first. Then, only warm, yellow-colored light bulbs should be used in the apiary sites and foraging areas. I don't know why, but I think if you provide artificial lighting, then the colors must not be very bright. So I think that's the only reason that we can surmise. No? Then mutilations, it's basically prohibited. So, may nagpa-practice ba ng mutilation dito? Especially sa wings of the queen bees? Meron? Wala. No? It's not natural. When you clip the wings, you're cutting the veins. The wings has veins. So it is brutal to clip the wings of bees, especially the queen bees. No? Then next, Supplemental feeding. Okay, I think this is one of the nuances in the beekeeping sector. Okay, supplemental feeding is not prohibited. It is allowed but restricted. Meaning, only when needed. Example, kung maubos na yung pagkain nila or sa tag-init or sa tag-ulan, then you can do supplemental feeding. But there is a condition. Feeding with honey, pollen, or organic sugar should be done during dearth period or when pollen and nectar are not sufficient. Okay? So, only organic sugar. If it's not honey or pollen, then organic sugar. If you use refined white sugar, i-dilute mo sa tubig, then yun ang ipakain mo, then that makes your beekeeping non-organic. So, I promoted their coconut sugar because coconut sugar can easily be claimed as organic. No? Coconut sugar is a single ingredient product. From the tuba, you evaporate it, you vaporize the moisture and crystallize it. No? So, you can have your coconut sugar. If you reverse that, add with water, then you can have the supplement for the bees. The other one, again, the feed should come from organic sources such as reserves of honey and pollen left during harvesting. Next. Okay, bee stock sources. Okay, the first statement, it says importation is not allowed for Apis cerana, stingless bees, and solitary bee species. So meaning we have to use the local and native varieties. The starter colonies should be sourced from apiaries that are free from pests, mites, hive beetles, and diseases, the American foul brood, the European foul brood, virus diseases, and fungal diseases. Okay, then there's a statement. Importation of Apis mellifera queens may be allowed from countries with no known Africanized honeybee populations and colony collapse disorder. So basically, make sure that the sources has a declaration that there is no known disease in the source. Then, on pest and disease control and disinfection, the health and welfare of the hive shall be primarily achieved by hygiene and hive management. Okay? For pest and disease control, the following are allowed. The use of lactic acid, formic acid, oxalic, acetic acid, sulfur, natural essential oils. So basically, 5 medicinal oils, menthol, eucalyptus, camphor. No? Then BT, Bacillus thuringiensis, bacteria from the soil. And steam, direct flame, and caustic soda for hive disinfection. So if you want to do some pest and disease control, then these are the allowed materials. These are the allowed practices. Okay. On provision number 3, colonies infected with American foul brood should be destroyed through burning. Medyo brutal. Inhumane. The use of antibiotics is prohibited. For disease and pest control, the following products may be used. So I think that was mentioned already. But I think there's one, soprosite and botanicals. Okay. So medicinal plants can be used. Cleaning and disinfection should be done using heat, such as blowtorch, flame torch, or hot water for other mechanical means. There's a survey among beekeepers. Half of them are using antibiotics. So in your case, do you use antibiotics in your colonies? Yes? No? No. Okay, good. So na ako sa blue. Sa red. Not using antibiotics. Harvesting, the use of chemical synthetic repellent is prohibited during extraction of beekeeping products. So, non-use of synthetic repellents is encouraged or the practice. The moisture content of ripe honey should be from 21 to 23%. Is that possible? Or do you measure your moisture content in the honey? Sa natural honey, that's, pero sa Melibra, 16 to 18. Okay, sa natural environment, moisture is higher, so that's why you need to dry, siguro the term is dry. Dehumidify, okay. Then harvesting. Then next is conservation and stability. It's like sustainable harvesting. 20% of the honeycomb or store should be reserved and not capped. Okay? But that's still very low. No? I don't know if the next generation or the population can survive with that 20%. But basically, the standard is saying, huwag mong ubusin. Magtira ka para sa next season or next cycle. Then, it serves as food reserve during the dearth period or the next season. Okay, just a break. So, I've read Morgan Freeman bought 124-acre property and convert that into a bee sanctuary to save the planet. So it's basically saying, if we save the bees, we basically contributed in saving the planet or mitigating climate change. Okay, next. On processing, basically it's saying processing, packaging, including storage. Equipment is thoroughly cleaned with hot water prior to processing. So that's the minimum. You can do blanching of equipment with hot water. The other one is surfaces in direct contact with the honey are constructed from sterilized materials. Then cleaning again through the use of hot water. Sometimes you can actually use chlorinated water, but be careful on the dilution. Okay, dilution. I think for potable water, the dilution is 5 ppm parts per. That's 5 parts per million. Pag more than 5 ppm, like the one recommended by our food experts, they recommend around 20 parts per million of dilution, and that becomes a pesticide. So you stick to the potable water standards. No? If you're getting water from non-potable, you mix it with chlorine. Make sure you only apply it up to 5 ppm. Then chlorine is not, for what I know, chlorine is not a problem because once you expose the water in the open air, it easily dissipates. Then honey should be packed in sterilized food grade containers. So basically what this is saying is, number one, make sure that your containers, your equipment, your surfaces are food grade. Then number two, you do regular sterilization. Okay? The production area should be cleaned regularly. And if you use pesticides in the surrounding area or in the facility, you can use those, no? Pero make sure when you do cleaning using pesticides in the area, make sure that there are no equipment, there are no food in the area. Okay, you can clean the facility, then first take out the equipment and the food, then clean the facility with allowed pesticides, then you can return the food and the equipment later on. Okay, so this one on labeling, I don't know how you label your products. Basically, there are two main labels. One is organic, the other one is in conversion. Okay, so how is in conversion applied in apiculture? In crops is easy. The conversion is governed by the previous use of your land. When you do crop production, the first requirement is you convert the land. So in the international standards, the conversion is 2 years for annual crops. Then for perennial crops is 3 years. Meaning, whatever you plant in that area, if it's annual, you can claim your product as organic after 2 years. So that's conversion. It's converted after 2 years. While you are still doing the conversion, your product can be claimed as in conversion. During the first year, you can claim your product as in conversion. Second year, in conversion. third year in conversion. Third year is organic if it's annual. If it's perennial, then you finish the conversion for 3 years. Then the fourth year, you can claim your product as organic. So that's basically on crop production. What if it is applied to the forest products for wild collection? Let's say you just harvest from the forest. Let's say for herbs, for mushrooms. Okay? Does it require conversion? So the answer is no. So that's the magic, that's the trick actually. Between crop production and wild collection, it's easier to label your product the next harvest as organic. Because the practice in the forest or in the wild areas is a natural system. There is no intervention. Just make sure that there is no human intervention in the gathering area. So that's on the crops. For animals, it requires only one generation to convert. Let's say for poultry, the mother can be conventional, but the eggs and the chicks later on will be your organic stocks. Okay, so you can start with a non-organic chicken. The practice is organic, but the stock came from non-organic. So the next generation, if you practice, if the mother is practicing organic, then the next generation is automatically can be claimed as organic. So that's one generation. Okay. So in the Philippines, what I mentioned on crop production are applicable for international standards. Meaning in the northern hemisphere, sa Europe, sa US, sa Japan, they can only do crop production once a year. The rest, they can do it in greenhouse because there is winter, they have 4 seasons. In our case, we have sunlight, we have rain and shine for the year, but we can do production year-round. Meaning we can do crop production twice for annuals, or even 3 times. So meaning, if you do crop production 2 seasons in 1 year, then you can comply. You can convert your farm as organic on the 3rd cropping. So meaning, first year is in conversion, the second year you can claim your product as organic. Okay? So that's the difference between wild, crop production, and livestock. Then there's a third complication on aquaculture. So you need to convert the land, you need to get clean water, you need to convert the stocks. So there are 3 standards actually in aquaculture. In crop production, you're complying with the land, converting the plants, and the inputs. So there are only 2 things. In livestock or animals, it's like converting the soil, giving organic feeds, then converting the stocks. So sa aquaculture, there is water, so there are 4. So in apiculture, it's like livestock. So you need to convert the land. If you're doing beekeeping, meaning your foraging area has to be organic. Meaning you have to convert your land as organic. Your crop production should be organic. Then your gathering by the bees can be claimed as organic. So that's basically the claims of your product later on. Either it is in conversion or organic. Pero in the case of Pilipinas, once na mag-claim sila ng organic, the following morning, their product is already organic. Di ba? That's our practice. Nakagamit lang ng compost or organic fertilizer, next harvest, organic na. They don't respect the rules of conversion. Okay, so this is the basic, no? When you start claiming your product as organic, make sure your land is converted as organic, meaning it did not receive the prohibited materials for the past 2 or 3 years. Then number 2, your crop production should be maintained, or your livestock should be maintained, or aquatic animals should be maintained as organic. Then the feeds, no? Okay. So those are the things, no? So that's the first one, claiming your product as organic or in conversion. No? What is the in-between? Is there an in-between? If you cannot comply with the in-conversion, meaning you did not follow the minimum requirements, then automatically your bee products cannot be claimed as organic, but we call it conventional or non-organic. There is no in-between. If you cannot follow the conversion of the land, you cannot follow the use of the allowed inputs, etc., then your product is automatically classified as non-organic. So those are the three labels, but actually there are only two, organic and in conversion. Okay, then on the specific bee product, what are the main bee products from bees? You have honey, pollen, propolis, beeswax, beer jelly, what else? Venom, 6. So these products, do you mix it with any other material? Or we can call this a single ingredient product. So all 6 are single ingredient products. Okay? So it means, for pollen, what do you do in pollen? Multifloral. It's not single. Yeah, but the bees were doing that. But as a human operator, you don't do that. So meaning, the bees take care of the multi-species gathering. So it's considered a single ingredient. Okay? So you have 6 single ingredients. And the good news, if those are maintained, then you can claim your product as 100% organic, each. If it's single ingredient. It is not mixed or touched by any additive, any processing aid, or any other non-organic material. So in the US, they have 4 categories of organic products. They have the 100% organic, meaning it's either single ingredient or the other ingredients are also organic. So they claim that the higher the percentage, the better in the market. So that's 100% organic. So single ingredient products can be claimed as 100% organic. If it's not organic, if it's not single ingredient, it has non-organic material but allowed, then at least the organic ingredient should be 95% and above. Then that label can be claimed as 95% or organic. If it's below, let's say you mix, I've read this alcohol or wine from honey, the mead, how do you pronounce that? Mead. Okay, so what are the ingredients? Honey, water, yeast, fruits, flavoring. That's that mead. Melamine. Okay, let's start with the mead. So you have your honey as organic, water, then yeast. Okay, so what's the percentage for yeast? Very small. 1%, 2%, or even less. Patak lang. Just to trigger fermentation. No? Okay, so meaning 99%. No? If your yeast does not come from organic sources, then your product is something like 99 point something % organic. And water is not counted, by the way. In organic ingredients, when you classify your processed product, water and salt are not counted. So what's counted are the agricultural products. So agricultural products, so I think honey is an agricultural product or from the forest or from the wild. The yeast also is an agricultural product. Okay? Except for GMO. So there are no yeast coming from GMO. So be careful with the genetically modified yeast, no? Because that will disregard, okay? That will take out the category as organic, okay? So, maski 99.99 ka lang, 0.01 lang ang yeast, pero GMO, then wala kang maklaim as organic because it's contaminated with a natural product or genetically modified product. Okay? So that's the practice. So you have 100%, 95% and above. Then below 95, but higher than 70%, you can claim. You can claim. I don't know what's a good example. Meaning, 70% should be organic. The other ingredients can come from non-organic but allowed materials. So that's 100%, 95, then above 70%. Then there is below 70%. That's above 35 to 70%. You cannot claim the main product as organic, but you can indicate in your ingredients which organic ingredient did you use. So those are basically the four labels. Okay, next. Traceability and record keeping. This is not in the standards. This is actually a certification requirement. So basically, each operation or production unit should be identified. So hindi pwede na you can just say nag-harvest lang kami saan-saan, no? Or you can claim we harvested the 500-hectare forest. Even in wild, you should identify. That should be identifiable. So in beekeeping, all the more, you have to provide the location of your production area. You have to provide the area, how many hectares is the foraging, the approximate, then how many colonies do you have? Then what is your estimated yield or harvest per year? So those things should be identified. Then if you buy materials, so there must be a record of all purchases of materials and inputs related to the operation, organic operation. Then when you sell products, there must be records also. How much you have harvested, how much are sold to certain buyers. Okay. Then, so documentation and records should clearly identify sources, movement, use, and inventory of organic from non-organic materials. So if you're doing organic and non-organic, then you must do record for both. Okay, that's the requirement. Then records, documentation, and accounts shall provide traceability and be made available in the competent authority and certifying bodies for audit trail and trace back verification at any time. The above mentioned records, including those related to use of subcontractors, shall follow a retention period of at least 5 years. So it means do not throw your records after every season or every after sale. Keep the records for at least 5 years. So when there are questions or maybe someone will contest the veracity of your claim, then you have your records for the past 5 years. And that 5 years is aligned with the USDA requirement. Then, yeah. Thank you. 40 minutes. Questions? Ay, kaya pa.
Thank you for that, Sir Patrick Belisario. And again, if you have any questions, first write it down. We should have a question and answer portion later.
Later.
So, thank you, sir.
One final thing. What I've read, the USDA for 20 years now, they haven't passed their organic beekeeping standards yet. Okay? Wala pa. They drafted in early 2000, around the same time when the world drafted their organic standards, the US also came up with their draft standards. But their authority, the government, is not putting it in their official document, in their public document. So now there's a revival in 2010, then they revive again. So most probably they will be having their organic apiculture standards. So at the moment, they are doing the organic livestock standards applied to the beekeeping standards, as the beekeeping standards. So at the moment, they're applying the private standards on organic beekeeping, but not the official one. So I think in that case, we are in advantage, no? Because we have already public documents. And our organic standards is part of the legislation already. So if it's part of the legislation, then there is a policy, there's a budget. So ang budget ng organic agriculture sa Pilipinas is 2% of the agricultural budget. At sinasabi nila, mahina daw ang organic, hindi raw nakakaubos. So kung 50 billion ang budget long time ago, so that's how much in organic. That's 1 billion per year. So ang kuha ng organic sector is less than 100 million sa umpisa, hindi umaabot sa 500 million per year. So, anong nangyayari? Bumabalik sa general appropriations yung unspent amount. Hindi siya nag-accumulate. No? So, this is the challenge to your sector. If you want to participate, if you want to claim your product, your sector as organic, contributing to climate change, as environment friendly or socially equitable system, then there is resources, no? From the market, both the market and the public sector. And the other data I've got is 10 years ago, we imported around 200 million of bee products. So meaning there is a market for your products. So if you use policy, you have public funds, then you have market funds. They should be able to grow your sector. So I hope you can work towards on this and grow your sector, because again, this is a very important sector in the ecosystems or the biological systems. Okay, so thank you very much and good afternoon.
Thank you for that wonderful talk, Mr. Patrick Belisario. Right, and for our next speaker, actually, she's a professor emeritus from UP Los Baños, a member of the Apimondia Commission on Bee Flora, Pollination, and Bee Health, Professor Cleophas R. Cervantia, PhD. However, she is not present, but she sent us a video presentation, which will be played on the screen.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I will be presenting some concepts of integrated pest management, strategies for bee pollinator conservation, and this topic is consistent with this year's BNet theme. Now, first, what are the inputs that we give to agriculture? Now, the aim of all of this is to increase crop productivity. The agronomists, the plant breeders will choose the best seed, planting material. The agronomists and the plant physiologists will suggest on the fertilizer. Entomologists like us, like me, will be thinking of insecticides that will mitigate the insect pest population. And our friends from plant pathology will think of the fungicides and all those chemicals that will prevent or cure plant diseases. We have also the equipment suggested by our engineers and all those like credit facilities in order to enhance the cropping system that will contribute to yield. However, now granting that all those conditions are present, it's not enough to cause fruit setting. So there is a need for pollinators that we need to protect. And why do we need to protect the bees? Let us set aside pollination first, and then let's go into livelihood opportunities. Now, bees support the 17 sustainable developmental goals of the United Nations. So addressing issues like poverty, environment, sustainability, all of those. And of course, here is our deal, pollinators equal to food, because 1/3 of the world's agricultural crops depends upon pollination provided by insects and other animals. Take note, these are good for those plants requiring outcrossing or pollination with animals or other agents. Now, because some plants may be autogamous, they don't need pollinators to cause fruit setting. Let's go figures. Like 87.5% of flowering wild plants depend on animal pollination, 94% in the tropics, and 78% in the temperate, and 75% or 3/4 of food products benefit from animal pollination. Yeah, let me invite you to this slide showing pollinators and flowers. Now, because when we speak of conservation, of management, it should be in an ecosystem approach, but with this component of equal share, and we have a big portion also of the environment. So those three major factors are key in the equation for conservation. Yeah, let us go to some basic concepts like some plants are pollinated by wind, like our corn. Now, what is the management here? Corn does not benefit from bee pollination because they are pollinated by wind. Now, look at those enormous light pollen grains. Nevertheless, if we use pesticide improperly, especially insecticides, to our inflorescence, the bees may die because pollen of corn is one of the best resources for the bees. So guys, instead of making pollen patties, why not just plant corn in your surrounding, because it can provide that much needed pollen to your bees and other pollinators. Now here comes the bird. Now the birds pollinate bigger flowers and they are colorful. Now because the visual perception of bird is just the same as human. Now, do you know that when the flowers appeared in evolution, now it came along with the birds because this huge flower will need a bigger pollinator. Why big? It would have ample nectar. Now, because the birds are a lot bigger than our bees. We have here the durian. Now, durian opens at nighttime, synchronized with the habit of our bats that pollinate these durian. So take note of the time of the opening of the flower, now because this makes sense in conservation and management. Only the butterfly can access those the nectar in this type of flower. Now, the equivalent flowers that open at nighttime, of course, are pollinated by moth, isn't it? Butterfly in the morning, and then in the evening, we have the moth. May I invite your attention to this cacao? Maybe not too many would know that the cacao is pollinated by a midge, and cacao is strictly cross-pollinated plant. Yeah. Note also that the breeding places of these midge, which really you may not see because they are very tiny, just like the nick that will roam around your eyes. Not really that species, but the size is just as small as those nick. The breeding place are, the banana stem, dead banana stem, rotting banana stem, and fortunately, in majority of the farm in the rural areas, they always have banana. So maintain banana in order for you to conserve the population of these midges. You are more familiar with bee pollination, so we have all sorts of bees. First, of course, the solitary bees, the carpenter bee, the armadillo, the halictid, leafcutter bees. Actually, those populations are threatened and we need to conserve them because they pollinate not only wild plants, but cultivated crops as well. Now, our favorite stingless bees, Polylecti, they feed on a lot of forage resources. Wild plants can be domesticated, large for food reserves, and effective in greenhouse pollination. Note that the flight range of our stingless bees is very short. It's only 250 to 500 meters. Well, advantage, you can nicely place them in orchard, like mango orchard, avocado orchard, equal distance, and to make sure that all the flowers will be visited. Because, the flowers are not living that long. For example, based on the study of Alex and Mango, longevity is only 5 days. Dalens work on coffee only 2 days. And do you know that these pollinators visit only day 1 flower? So sorry na lang sa day 2 flower. If they are not visited at day 1, they will not be visited at all. That's why it is important to have huge or enough population of our pollinators to optimize the efficiency. And then pepper. This was done by Zheng Dato in 2022. These peppers, this species pollinated by the stingless bee. They work well with greenhouse. It showed 74% increase in fruit setting. And then the passion fruit. Studied by Presas, by Rodriguez. Now, the carpenter bees, we need to conserve the carpenter bees. And how do you manage it? Now, maintain those wood, use wood as fences, in the farm. Now, because they serve as the nesting site for our carpenter bees. Carpenter bee because they nest in wooden structure. Fascinating interaction between the two. There is plant incompatibility in the passion fruit. When you say that the flowers within the same plant cannot cross, it cannot produce fruit. But this carpenter bee, after foraging a single flower, they will fly a few meters away and then landing into another flower. How did this carpenter bee know that there is such thing as incompatibility? So meaning to say, if you have only one passion fruit plant, you may not have a fruit because of incompatibility, inadequate pollination. Now, what are the major threats to our pollinators? Number 1, farm inputs and practices. I highlighted their monoculture, pesticides, greatest impact, lack of forage resources, pests and diseases, and then, yes, it's a given, the climate change. Monoculture. What is the concept here? You know multiple cropping, integrated farming system. Now, the concept there is really to stimulate a natural vegetation. Isn't it that a natural vegetation is very stable? And because there are a lot of plant species growing in there, and it means that it is highly diverse, and highly diverse ecosystem would have less of a pest problem, and they have a lot of pollinators in there. So for our purpose in commercial farm, we dilute the impact of monoculture. One strategy for beekeeper is that, especially also if your crop needs outcrossing, plant additional floral resources. Now, this is what we call bee pasture development. Now, we have here the integrated pest management, by which we combine techniques. So IPM would mean combination of one or two of these existing methods, be it chemical, biological, cultural, like host plant resistant, agronomic practices, and other best agricultural practices. It's part of the IPM. Even best beekeeping practices is part of the integrated pest management. And you know what? It may be zero action, because if there is no need for it, no need to combine any of these tactics. Now, sustained pollination services, number 1, first and foremost, bee pasture development. And do you know that one of the reasons why our bees are not healthy is because of nutrition, nourishment. Now, it holds true to all animal species. If we are malnourished, now we will be unhealthy. We will not live long, and the fertility is very much reduced. Now, this diverse pollen and nectar provides a balanced diet. Because pollen will provide protein, but not all the amino acids may be present in one pollen, like pollen of corn, pollen of mimosa. they may be lacking some of the essential amino acids. Now, when you have a lot of this type, now it means that it will complement. That's why the diverse food is always recommended. And when we speak of bee pasture, we are not speaking only of few plant species, like 10 of the cosmos, 10 of the Cupea. No. Now, because the bees validate the floral resources. So this was studied by our colleagues in math. Like they compute for energy. Where will we get more reward? Is it like in the plantation of Cupea, or is it in the plantation of avocado or mango? Because early in the morning, we very well know that the bees will validate the sites where to get floral resources, and then this pollen, is much needed, very much needed by the plants. So they will relay the communication there, and then to the hive, and they will forage there. Now, one of the advantages of bee is floral fidelity, and I hope that we will emulate that particular trait. Now, for example, if they forage in one species of flower, now they will be loyal to that flower in that particular foraging trip. Now, if they are not loyal and they see mango and then spotted on avocado, the pollen of avocado will not be good for mango. It's not compatible. So it's a waste of energy. And do you know these flowers? The response, the match is that it will not give all its pollen at one time. The giving of the pollen is just one at a time. Now, because if a flower will give its, nectar at one time, it will not be visited by the bee. It will not be revisited. And do you know that the size of the fruit and the number of seeds will depend upon the number of pollen grains deposited into the stigma? So let us not give all our rewards at one time, so that you will be revisited many, many times. And then natural farming system, it protect the bees, produce crops and high products that are safe to human. Now, this is the kind of farm that our grandparents, our ancestors had, but we are now going back to natural farming system. We are reinventing, Now, mango pollination. This was extensively studied by Alex, so we have the publication. Now, mango is one of the crops that require a lot of chemicals. We all know that natural pollinators are scarce in large plantation crops. That's why you need to introduce pollinators in order to optimize the yield. And then such introduction will increase the fruit setting to 42 to 98%. So where is the concept of pest management there? So I'll discuss it. Yes, this is very crucial, and this is a prototype to all crops. In conservation, we should know the antithesis. We should know floral biology. For example, in this graph, we observe this on mango. X is the time. It's a standard protocol. We observe how many pollinators are visiting the flowers throughout the day, and we identify the period when the flower is in full bloom. By the way, antithesis is the opening of period when the flowers are open. But there is a certain peak. Now look at this graph on mango. Now early in the morning, actually, Alex and our team started observing like 5 o'clock in the morning, and then noting who will come first, and then what will be the status of our flower. Are they still closed? When will they open? And as you see, as the flower opens here, the number of pollinator or visitors, were mostly stingless bees, because we have them in the farm, gradually increases, and then reaching a peak at around 8 o'clock, going down a little. Okay, as time progresses until 12 noon, that there are no more visitors. Now, what is the key message here? Now, we call this pollination window. And this is the time when the flowers are really fully open. It is very fertile. The pollen are most viable, the stigma is most receptive, and then we measure the amount of nectar, and it is highest. That's why the pollinators are concentrated at this time, at this period. Message for IPM people, for IPM concept, never apply any inputs, even if it were organic, during this period in order to prevent or to save the pollinators. Because if you will apply the chemicals during this hour, most of the pollinators will die. Now, a simple scheduling, a simple change in the protocol can spell a difference in conservation. So it means, okay, if applying of pesticides or chemicals or any substance is inevitable, now do it during the afternoon hours or in the evening if it is inevitable. Now others, those big growers, they remove, the entomologists, when you see these 3 or 4 leaf hoppers, they invoke this ETL, economic threshold. When you see these, you need to do action. Okay, fine, right? So these big growers, they will move out these bees from the farm, put it in a depot, and then okay, do it your merry way, you spray, but it will not save our solitary bees. Now, some would cover the entrance of the bee. They will be stressed for a couple of days. Never mind. Now, because if they will be staying the farm, now mortality rate will be very high. Now, the same thing is true with pepper. The antithesis is during this hour, so do not spray anything on our pepper. But nevertheless, I think we do not really use that much chemical to our pepper. Yeah, it should be okay. Passiflora, you see the trend. The activity is during this hour up to 1 o'clock. So no spraying until 1 o'clock. All right. So in my discussion, we focus. So IPM is, again, combination of techniques or no action at all. And if chemical application is inevitable, do not do it during morning hours. Now, that is one way of conserving our pollinator. We conserve the habitat, we protect the environment, we produce crops and honey and products that are safe for human and animal health. Now, I will end up this discussion with the presentation of this concept, the interaction between plants and pollinators, because in IPM, we must understand both in relation to the environment. Now, this is the so-called maze model, not really very complicated. It just shows that the population of our pollinator will increase with the population of the plant because they have something to eat, isn't it? The population increases because of the nutrition, forage, resources. But this graph also tells us that there should be a certain population density of pollinator and a certain population of plant to affect the so-called mutualistic interaction between the two. Now, because the interaction between the pollinators and plants, it is mutualistic, meaning to say that it will happen. It is part of their life history, of the phase in the life that they have no choice but to interact. Now, below that density, it will lead to an unstable point, so mutualism will not occur. So it just shows to us that with conservation, with IPM, now we can increase the plant population that will sustain the population of our pollinators. So thus, when we look at the IPM, to summarize, it should be treated in an ecosystem approach by which you consider the vegetation, you consider the pollinators, and of course, other organisms, the biodiversity. And then now we can have a stable system and we can have pollinator conservation, not only pollinator, but beneficial species. Okay, so that ends up my presentation. Thank you. Thank you very much for listening.
So si Prof. Yeah, thank you for the video. And yeah, marami tayo natutunan, especially yung the simple change of when to apply pesticides during the days. Kailangan pala important malaman yung hindi na nag-open flowers. Now on to the third speaker for today. He is the proprietor of 3BL Bee Farm and of course the Vice President for BNet Luzon. I'm calling on Sir Alejandro C. Fajardo. Junior. Importante yung junior. So we'd like to welcome to the stage Sir Alejandro Fajardo Jr. To discuss the pollination of some high-value crops.
Good afternoon. Okay, so my mentor, Dr. Kripasha, discussed IPM in relation to pollination. Now I will discuss the value of pollination in selected crops, especially crops that are of high value here in Mindanao. So, next slide. Okay. What is the importance of pollination? Well, number one, in agriculture, it increases quality and quantity of crops. And in the environment, it increases pollinator density and enhances pollination during adverse environmental and climatic conditions by addressing limitations on pollen viability. So, yung sa environment po, ang presence ng pollinators will increase yung resiliency, yung pag-bounce back. Kung halimbawa po pag-rebound, kung sa mga may boyfriend, mga jowa dyan, nag-break kayo, mabilis kayo mag-bounce back kapag may mga pollinators. Kasi po, ang mga pollinators na yan, ang responsible para sa pag-produce ng magandang binhi ng ating mga puno, ng ating mga damo, na siyang po protekta sa ating mga kapaligiran habang dumadating yung mga masamang panahon, tagtuyot, baha. Sila po, itong mga puno at damo na itong pumipigil at nag-retain ng tubig sa lupa para po hindi nasisira yung kapaligiran. At the same time, it enhances po yung landscape para sa atin. Okay? Next slide, please. Okay, so dito po, na-discuss na po yung Dr. Sebastian, ano po yung nakaka-effect sa visitation ng bees sa mga flowers. So yung una-una po yung flower color, kasi po may specific spectra po ang mga bees na nakikita. Usually po yung dilaw, yun po pinaka-attracted sa kanila. Tapos po doon sa mga ibang bulaklak na tulad ng puti, may makikita po kayong mga streaks doon sa loob ng kanyang bulaklak na tinatawag pong nectar guide. Yung po mga kulay nyo, yung po makikita nyo doon sa mga pula, dilaw, at saka mga pagpapong shades na makikita nyo sa loob ng bulaklak na siyang parang kumbaga po sa aeroplano runway lights. Nabilog po natin tingnan ng mga bubuyo. Yung floral structure po, kung honeybees po pag-usapan natin, dapat po yung kanilang mga corolla o yung kanilang mga petals, hindi po masyadong malalim, medyo bukas, mas favorite po sa kanila yun. Kasi po maiksi lang po yung dila nila para pumunta doon sa nectaris. So yun po yung nakakaano, epekto. Tapos po yung flower odor, mas gusto po nilang puntahan yung mabango na bulaklak. Tulad ng mangga, kape, including durian. Okay? Tapos yung nectar and pollen availability. Propose po yung makukuha nilang nectar at pollen. Sabihin po, maraming mag-provide ng pollen tulad ng niyog, mais, at saka ng nectar na tulad ng dragon fruit, at saka ng durian. Mabilis malakas mag-produce ng nectar ng durian. Okay, next slide. Okay, ngayon po, ano po yung mga factor that will affect yung pollinator at saka pollination efficiency? Discuss na rin po doon sa kasi ulitin ko po, stress from pathogens. Ang pathogens po, meron po yung mga naturally occurring at saka po yung human-made na stress. Okay? So halimbawa po sa natural occurring, ito po yung mga bacteria, viruses, at saka yung mga fungal diseases na na-encounter ng honeybees natin. Yung man-made naman po is due to yung nutritional deficiency na binibigay natin. So halimbawa po, nag-harvest tayo, we are too greedy, wala tayong iniwan na honey na reserves para sa mga bees for the rainy season. Halimbawa, nag-harvest tayo halimbawa sa Luzon ng March, April, May. Ngayon, yung June is predicted na meron pang konting nectar flow or may konting pang honey reserves yung bees, pero dahil greedy kayo, tinangay ko rin yun. Tapos, pinalitan nyo ng sugar syrup. Yung sugar syrup po is detrimental sa honeybee health. Syrup na binibigay natin sa bees causes bee ulcer. So, dinidisturb niyo po yung lining ng ating bituka ng ating mga bubuyog. And which makes them susceptible po sa chalk brood. Okay? So, yung feeding po makes our bees susceptible to chalk brood na wala namang gamot. Okay? So, yun po yung naging ano doon. So, ang nangyayari po, pinahihina natin yung and is an man-induced susceptibility or pathogen. Now, na-stress yung bubuyog, nagkaroon ng chalk brood, anong gagamot natin? Of course, look back to natural naman. Ang gagamitin naman to combat yung disease na man-made na yun is to feed bees with lactic acid bacteria. Give them Yakult. Yung po yun nandun. Now, stress from transportation. Yung transportation po, nangyayari po ito if you are doing migratory beekeeping. Gaya sa Australia, sa New Zealand, sa US, sa Canada, especially for pollination purposes. Sa transportation po, ano ba pag kinarga nyo sa truck, lumubuyog, open, canopy. Ang kinover nila sa kanila ay yung tolda. Okay, yung temperature increase po doon sa sa tolda na yun, at saka yung direct exposure sa sunlight, yung po nag-focus ng stress sa mga honeybees at nag-die off sila. Nag-trigger po yun ng mga especially yung mga man-made diseases na gaya ng chalk brood. Dahil stress yung bees, mabilis sila magiging susceptible doon sa fungal na cause ng chalk brood at magkakaroon sila ng sakit. At ang mangyayari po nun, dahil mahina yung katawan bubuyog, hindi sila lumalayo, lilipat sila ng mas malapit, tapos yung paglipat-lipat nila sa bulaklak, hindi po nagiging effective kasi mabilis silang napapagod. So, yung pollination efficiency po nila bumabagsak na as far as 30%. Ngayon, kaya po ang ginawa dyan sa ibang bansa, yung during transport for pollination na ginagamit nila yung mga air-conditioned container. Doon nila lalagay yung mga bees to lessen yung stress from transportation. Stress from climate change. Ito po pinakamalaki ngayon na combat natin. Because yung climate change, marami pong yan. Ang unang-una is yung fluctuations in temperature, yung wild fluctuations natin. So before, nasa 30, 35, yun ang pinakamataas natin. Ngayon, nasa 40, 45 degrees Celsius. Okay. Tapos yung pong humidity or yung wet condition. So dati sa atin, wet and dry. Ngayon, wet and very wet. Okay? So, kapag dry season po kasi, ang problema ng honeybees natin is yung temperature po na-encounter nila during flight causes them to overheat. Masyado mataas kasi 40, 45. That's too much for them. Mabilis po mag-overheat. Nagtatire sila o kaya namamatay pabalik. So nababawasan yung population ng ating honeybees at ang nangyayari po ay hindi sila nakakapag-pollinate effectively sa ating mga crops. Ngayon po, yung sa masyado namang wet na conditions, hindi naman po sila makalipad. Okay? So yun po yun. Now, plant pollinator interaction, na-apektan din po ito ng climate change. Bakit po? Kapag ka po masyadong mainit, walang ipuproduce na nectar. Pag masyadong basa, wala rin pong nectar kasi naaanod naman ng tubig, nadidilute. At wala din po pollen na napuproduce. Ngayon, invasive species po, ito po yung kinakatakutan ng ating foreign, nakasama dito, foreign, si Mr. John Everett Roberts po, na imagine nyo ha, foreigner pa siya, pero siya ang takot sa invasive species. But he himself is invading the Philippines. Sorry. But yeah, invasive species po, kasi po invasive species would create a competitor. So, nagkukumpit po siya sa resources ng ating mga native population ng pollinators. At kung masyado pong invasive yung species nyo, pag mataas yung kanyang competitive pressure, namamatay po yung ating native population. So, yun po yung and environmentally, pag nawala po yung mga native species, magkakaroon po ng domino effect. Kasi po yung mga native species ay minsan siyang nagpo-pollinate sa mga tinatawag natin keystone species na halaman, na pag nawala yung halaman na yun, maraming halaman mo mawawala at mawawala yung isang buong ecosystem. So yun po yung magiging effect ng invasive species. Ngayon po, dahil po nawala na yung buong ecosystem, nawala na yung mga native pollinators ninyo, ang nangyari po, lahat ng pollination services will collapse. Okay, next slide please. So ito po yung diagram niyan, yung nabanggit ko. Next slide please. Okay, now to the main event. Okay, ito po. Okay, yung nawala yung yung 95%, 5 lang yung nasulat. Hindi po, 95% po sa mango actually. Ang data po namin dyan, yung 95% po is more of dun sa mga maliliit na mango growers. But dun sa isang commercial growers sa Bago City, Negros Occidental, yung Southern Negros Joint Ventures, we were able to have a yield increase of more than 300%. Okay, I'll explain to you later kung paano nangyari yun. Sa coffee, Coffea Roberta, yung pinag-aralan na aking may bahay, si Miss Dalen, yung po yung kapeng Barako ng Batangas, 82% po ang ini-increase sa yield. Yung Coffea Arabica, our friend Dr. Ruby studied it in Colombia, and the increase of introducing honeybees into coffee production 17.1%. Kasi po yung Coffea Arabica is capable of selfing. So hindi niya po kailangan ng pollinator, makakapag-produce pa rin siya ng berries. But ini-increase po ng pollinators yung production niya to 17%. Without pollinators po na selfing lang, ang kanya pong yield is around 8.2% lang. So malaki po yung nagdadagdag ng pollinator. Ngayon po, yung Canefora robusta, yung lowland coffee, kapag ka po wala siyang pollinator, ang kanyang production is nasa 6.7%. Ngayon po, pag nagdagdag sila ng bees, this is Apis mellifera, binagay nila sa plantation ng coffee, nag-increase po ng 78.1%. So significant po yung increase with using of honeybees sa pollination. Now, coconut is also capable of selfing. Kasi po, yung kanyang structure ng pollen is pwede pong dalahin ng hangin. However, kapag kapag nila ng hangin yung pollen niya, talaglag doon sa female flower, ang kanyang production po is mababa. Siguro po yung values nila, but mababa lang po talaga. Kapag nagdagdag kayo ng kakaunting pollinators, depende sa variety, ang nangyayari po ay tumataas na ng 30 to 70%. Yung 70% is pag-aaral po na ginawa dito sa Pilipinas sa San Ramon variety natin. Naglagay po ng Apis mellifera sa coconut plantation, something like 80 colonies ng Apis mellifera in a coconut plantation na around 10 hectares. Sinaturate nila yung coconut, it was in Quezon, in in Quezon Province and Luzon, at nakatayin sila sa San Ramon ng 70%. Yung 30% is variety po na natakbuhan sa Venezuela. 30% na po nakuha nila kasi po ano daw po yung variety nila is iba. Kaya hindi po hindi significant yung effect ng pollination sa variety kasi ang nakikita nilang ng pollinator ng particular variety na sa kanila is not yung mellifera but rather yung wild bees na natatakbuhan sa kung saan ginawa nila yung kanilang species na ginagamit. So, yun yung nangyari. So, sabihin, walang pollinator yung kanilang species na yun doon sa na pinag-aralan doon sa kanilang pinaglipatan na walang, hindi ko alam kung saan nila country kinuha, hindi nila binanggit doon sa data nila. And then of course, durian. May cherry dito ng variety ng durian, di ba? Okay. Sa durian po, nabanggit dito Conservancia, ang kanyang bulaklak ay geared for nocturnal pollination, gabi. Ngayon po, sa pag-aaral po ng kasama namin si 100 Oases sa Thailand, using yung SimBee variety, napansin niya na ang bees can also help in the fruit set of durian. Okay? Kasi po ganito nangyayari yan. Yung pong pagbukan bulaklak ng durian ay nagsisimula sa dusk o yung hapon, yung tabing hapon. So, nagsisimula po ito na around 1600 is 5 o'clock. Tapos, nagpipig po siya ng around 1900 hours. So, 7. 4 to 7. Okay. 4 to 7. So, 4 to 7 siya nagsisimulang bukas. 7 o'clock yung peak ng antisis. Ngayon po, napansin po ni Wayo na yung oras na yon, bumibisita yung mga wild bees nila o yung mga native bees nila sa bulaklak ng durian. Unang-una daw pong dumarating ay yung Apis cerana. Susundan ng stingless bees. Then susunod yung Apis dorsata, and then Apis florea, and then Apis underniformis. So lahat po yan, puro nagpupunta doon sa bulaklak, doon sa oras na yon. Yung oras po yun, doon po napapansin niya na bumubukas yung anther, lumalabas yung pollen. At saka tumutulo yung nektar ng durian. Okay, nagsisimula tumulo yung nektar ng durian. Pero pagdating ng 1900 pataas, yung po kanyang nectar produce na talagang gushing out na po talaga. At yun naman po, ang nag-a-attract doon sa mga batiki, sa mga bats. Meron din po tayong species dito sa Mindanao, yung neonectaris species na nakalimutan ko yung species dito sa Mindanao. But neonectaris yung genus niya na hindi ko lang po alam kung yung mga nesting caves dito sa Mindanao ay napoprotektahan. So, dahil po yung mga bubuyog ay bumibisita during yung pagbukas ng alter, nag-attract yung pollen at yung nectar na tumunod ng Greek, nakaka-effect po sila ng pollination sa durian. And then, ang nangyayari po is dalawang is animal pollination at insect pollination na nangyayari sa durian. So, huwag po kayo mawalan pag-asa mga beekeepers kasi you can still put your bees sa mga durian plantation. Okay. Ngayon, kakao, sorry na lang po tayo, beaches talaga. Pinag-aralan na po yan, pati po si Dr. Rubik, nag-aaral din po talagang beaches po. Ngayon po, ang sabi po sa akin ni Dr. Rubik, nung binonta ko siya, huwag naman daw pong discount totally ang stingless bees. Kasi po, yung pinag-aralan nilang species ng stingless bees, medyo mas malaki kaysa sa stingless bees natin. Ngayon po, yung ating stingless bees, kakaunti lang ang diferensya doon sa midges. Kasi yung midges po, yung Porcipo Mia species is around 2 mm ang size. Ngayon po yung atin, the stingless bees is 3 mm to 4 mm. Okay, so maliit. Ngayon sabi niya, bakit di natin subukan yung stingless bees ninyo na i-disperse natin sa cacao plantation? Kasi baka dahil maliit yan, kumpara sa pinag-aralan namin species, maging effective din sila sa pag-pollinate ng cacao. So, kung meron kayong mga cacao plantation, marami tayong beekeepers na nagkikit na stingless bees dito, baka pwede magpag-partner sa kayo sa kanila, isasaturate natin yung cacao plantation ninyo ng stainless peas. Alternatively, kung wala po tayong ganun karaming stainless peas, we can also develop po yung rearing system po or midges. Na kapag ano po ang rearing system or midges, na ilalagay po, ikakalat nyo doon sa inyong plantation ng cacao, especially po yung mga cacao na hindi ginagawa. Tanong ko lang po, sino po nagkakao dito? Nasa naman? Wala? Okay, yung po plantation nyo ng cacao, is it forest or open? Open. Okay. Ayon po kay Dr. Ruby, sa open system, yung ginamit nilang yung Tetragonilla jepti na medyo malaki sa atin, significant yung effect sa cow pollination kapag open. Ngayon po, pagka-close na yung shaded na parang po forest system, mas may laki ang effect ng midges at saka nung iba pang visitor. So kapag po open, mas maganda po siguro explore natin yung ating Tetragonilla species dito, kalata natin yung mga open system ng cacao. Kasi po, ang nagiging problema dyan is yung po mga midges, matatagpuan lang po sa gilid. So kung halimbawa po, itong projection board na ito, ang inyong cacao plantation, sa midges, at saka sa honeybees, at saka stainless peas, ang mga hardcore po nila, yung pinagbabahayan nila sa mga natural system, nasa gilid lang po. Sa gilid lang ng ating projection screen, nandyan lang sila. Ang tawag po doon ay edging effect. Sa edges lang po matatagpuan ng mga pollinator. Ngayon po, yung pollinators natin, especially yung mga stainless peas at midges, nagtatravel lang po yan ng 120 to 200 meters. So, isipin nyo, 120 to 200 meters. Hanggang dito lang yan. Kawawa naman yung mga plants doon sa gitna. Okay. Ano pong spacing ng cacao nyo? Okay. So, yung spacing po also matters. Ngayon sa coconut, sa atin, ang ginagamit natin is 10 meters, 12 meters, di ba? Sa ating mango is 8 meters. Okay? Sa coffee, anong spacing nyo dito? Coffee, anong spacing? 3 by 3. Okay. So, ang natatabanan po ng natural pollinators natin is yung dulo-dulo, gilid na gilid lang po. Kawawa po yung ating gitna. Ngayon po, ganun din po yung nangyari doon sa Southern Negros Joint Ventures. Nagre-rear sila ng langaw para mag-pollinate. So, ang ginagawa nila, yung mga langaw, kinakalat doon sa gilid ng kanilang fields. Kasi po, hindi nila pwedeng ikalat ng marami dahil ang nangyayari po, bumabaho yung area, nire-report sila sa Rural Health Office. So, kinikip nila malapit sa canals na kung saan doon din nag-breed yung mga langaw na yun. So, the langaw will only travel up to the second line of trees ng mango. Beyond that, hindi na sila pupunta kasi po ang langaw naman, kakain lang niya yung para sa sarili niya. Yung mga bubuhay naman po iba. Kakain niya sa sarili niya pero mag-uwi siya para sa anak niya. Okay, so nangyari po, dahil po nagkakaproblema sila, na sobrang baba ng production. So they seek our help and tinignan namin kung anong kanilang kulang. Naglagay po sila ng mellifera doon sa area. The problem is, yung mellifera po, hindi po pupunta sa target crop nila. Kasi po, ang mellifera mas malayang nalaabot hanggang 5 kilometers. E ang problema po, within that 5 kilometers, merong mas paborito yung mellifera, yung mga niyog. At saka yung mga pomelo doon sa bandarod. So, kaya gusto nila ma-pollinate lang is yung mangga. So, anong nangyari po, hanap kami ng solusyon para maganda mangga. And what we did is introduce stainless bees along the side at saka doon sa gitna ng kanilang field ng mangoes, and we achieved yung pong 300% increase in yield per field. So, yun po yung nakuha namin. But sad to say po, after that year na nakakuha kami 300% increase in yield, na-dissolve ko yung corporation kasi na land reform. Okay. So yun po yung naging ano. But nung balikan po namin yun, ang tinanong po namin is kung kaya i-maintain ng mga tao yung mga colonies at saka yung horticultural system na nagpo-produce ng namaga, sabi ko hindi nila kaya maintain, hindi nila naalagaan. Pati po yung naiwan ng mga colonies ng stingless bees, hindi po nila naalagaan, so namatay po lahat yun. So, yun po yung sad story doon. But kung naalagaan sana nila yung stingless bees at kaya nilang i-maintain yung horticultural aspect ng mangga, siguro po kumikita sila ngayon. So, ganun din po gagawin. So, sa durian ninyo, sa aming pag-aaral po sa mangga, ang ratio po ng colony is 1:2 trees ng mangga. O yun po ha, 1:2. So kung may mangga kayong katabi, gitna niyo yung stingless bees. Tapos, so on and so forth, bawat po. So 1:2, kung ano yung ang inyong sa hektarya may 70 plants ng mangga, so you need at least 35. Okay, sa coconut naman po, nag-study kami sa STR, sa Southern Tagalog Integrated Research Center sa Lipa, using makapuno variety naman, we introduced stingless bees at saka yung apis cerana. So we have 5 colonies of apis cerana at saka 24 colonies ng stingless bees. And similarly, we were able to get more than 70% increase in yield. Ang kagandahan na po doon, dalawang species yung ginamit namin, apis cerana at saka yung stingless bees. Yung stingless bees po, ang ratio po is 24 colonies per hectare. And then yung apis cerana po is 5 colonies per hectare. So, it is yung pong ano namin doon, wala pa akong picture, but yung buwig po ng coconut, we have to buy bamboo from Quezon. Tinutulusan po namin yung buwig ng makapuno kasi po hindi po ma-support ng buwig yung bigat ng bunga na bumabagsak po siya na hindi pa right yung nuts. So, tinutulusan po namin ng kawayan for support. So, we bought 2 F-load ng kawayan to support yung kasi masasira pa yung aming crop. Now, sa coffee, okay. Ang key po sa coffee is Liberica po, ang pinaka-efficient na gagamitin sa Liberica is apis cerana. Ito po yung kapeng parako ng Batangas. Sa Arabica, pwede daw po ang mellifera dyan, but apis cerana will also do. Sa Robusta po, sa Cavite namin ginawa yung studies, Apis mellifera will do well, at saka po yung Apis breviligula. Yung napansin namin, kasi sa area na maraming Apis breviligula at saka Apis cerana, pag nag-introduce ka ng Apis mellifera, mas dumadami po yung bunga ng Robusta. So, yung 78% po tumakas pa yun po ng 86. So yun po yung ano. So, ang nangyari po, ang effect po ng pollination is fast pronounced pag maraming native population dun sa area. So hindi lang po yung i-introduce natin na colonies, but kasi po yung pag-introduce ng colonies, it will miss yung need, especially for large plantations, lagay sa mango, sa durian, sa coffee, na merong tinatawag na edging effect. Yung sa gilid lang matatakbuhan yung mga natural populations na hindi nakakagigit na ng ating mga plantation. But just to say, maintaining po yung natural arborage sa paligid, yun po ang pinaka-importante. And then yung lahat ng managed pollinators natin na gaya ng mga nakahive sa ating mga bees, i-introduce natin sa gitna ng ating mga plantations para po magkaroon ng saturation. Para po hagin po yung tinatawag nila conservation economic threshold at saka economic density na magkakaroon tayo ng efficient pollination na nagtitrigger ng competition between colonies at not too much competition para mag-collapse yung colonies at the same time mag-provide po tayo ng efficient pollination, pollinator saturation sa field natin. Yun po yung pinaka-importante when pollinating crops. But ano po, kung kayo po may need sa pollination, you can contact us naman po and we will see. We can do okay lang sa inyong site para ano natin kung ano yung efficient method on how to pollinate yung inyong crops. Yun po yung isang Yan lang po. Maraming salamat.
answer portion. Fortuner na BBU3170, hinahanap po kayo sa labas. So, to the owner of the Fortuner with plate number Delta Bravo India 3170, hinahanap po kayo na security sa labas. Alright, so now for the question and answer portion, may I call on Sir Patrick Belisario and Mr. Alejandro C. Margo to please come on the stage para mag-thesis defense. Question and answer na po.
Sir Patrick, my first question. Regarding po to sa organic na nasa honey, okay? Ang mga beekeepers po namin is gumagamit ng smoke. Okay. Will that affect yung namin sa label ng organic? Ano yung composition ng smoke? Ano ang material niya?
Coconut has, ano pa?
Leaves, dry leaves. Coconut has mostly dry leaves.
Yeah, smoking is a natural process. Unless of course kung yung mga materials nila are treated.
Kung plastic, these are like.
Yeah. So, okay yung coconut has. Basta walang treatment. Yun ang burning, smoking is okay sa organic. In general, burning is prohibited. Burning of plant debris is not allowed. But smoking is not burning. We know the difference. Even charcoal making is allowed in organic. Okay, so charcoal, the biochar, we can create, the end product is carbon, right? It helps in eating the soil, in compost. Differentiating burning, charcoal making, and smoking. Ang burning is, ang end product niya is ash. So meaning, there is total combustion. So it's like fuel combustion. So that's why it is not allowed. Smoking and charcoal making, the end product is charcoal, and the other one is partially burned. Okay, so in other words, smoking in then traditionally sa mangga natin, di ba, yung indigenous knowledge is pinapausugan to stress the leaves para to force inflorescence or yung flowering. So, okay yun.
Kabaluan ng batang na ito na
In general, burning is not allowed because there's another law sa ecological waste management. Okay, burning is not allowed. Pero we must differentiate burning from charcoal making and smoking. So, allowed yun, pwede yun.
Sir, what if like newspaper, carton, like carton of newspaper, is it counted as?
Yung mga corrugated boxes.
Yes, yes. Oh, because the chemicals in newspaper print, different things, different heavy metals in it.
I think okay na kayo dun sa hash, sa wood. Pero yung mga carton na, kasi you're not just violating the organic, I mean, you will be covered in the prohibition, but you're also violating the ESWM, the solid waste management. The use of plastic containers. Okay. It's in the other provision of the standards on food processing. No? What are acceptable food grade materials? In general, yung mataas na polychlorocarbonate, ito yung mga PCBs na plastics are not allowed. But the polyethylene are allowed. These are basically food grade. Yung mga matataas na ang tawag dito, yung kasama sa dirty dozen ng mga plastics, yun ang dinidiscourage natin or hindi na allowed. Yeah, yung mga polyvinyl chloride na yung matataas na okay. That's high density polyethylene. Pero I think the best are glasses. Tapos yung mga PE, PET na yes. May nagtaas sa likod.
Yes, Sir Patrick, good afternoon. With regards to organic honey, so will there be a problem on traceability? Because if we say organic honey and then we cannot control the flight or the range of the honeybees, some of it will collect nectar from chemically infected trees or whatever plants. So is it really possible for traceability and certification of organic honey?
Well, the answer is it's possible to claim and be verified. Pero that will be the work of the inspection and certification.
Inspectors.
Yeah.
Auditors.
As operator, as beekeeper, just make sure you follow the 3-kilometer radius for beekeeping and wild collection, wild honey collection. So if you can prove that the 3-kilometer radius is not contaminated, meaning there are no plantation, there are no chemical agriculture or conventional agriculture, then you can document that. Maybe get a photo essay, let's say, photograph of the areas or satellite images over time. Let's say the past 3 years, walang plantation, 3-kilometer radius. So you document that, then that will form part of your documentation.
Yes, thank you. But I think it is not applicable in Davao City. So
Davao City.
we can say 3 kilometers. We can convert it into, I think, 90 square hectares.
Yeah.
9 square kilometer radius yung equivalent niya.
Yeah, medyo malaki, no? Yeah, medyo malaki. So challenge actually is certification. Then for all you know, there is no certified honey in the Philippines yet.
Yes.
There is no certified. Yeah, wala pa. Yes, sir.
Another question from Sir Parla.
Virgin ba?
Sir, with regards to the pollination of Robusta, is there any study being conducted on the effect of Tribuna BOI on Robusta?
Okay, yung stingless po sa Robusta, hindi po siya ganun ka-effective as pollinator. Kasi po, ginagawa ng stingless bees, pagka nandun siya sa Robusta flowers, doon siya sa gilid ng flower na sa dumadaan. Yung bulaklak sa gilid. Hindi siya dumadaan doon sa taas na nasaan yung anthers. Hindi nga, sa Robusta. Libere kasi yun.
Sorry po, kasi it was my dissertation, yung coffee, and dinagdag ko sa observation yung Robusta at Arabica. And ganito po, ang Arabica ay selfie. Ibig sabihin, pwede walang bees. Sarili niya, pwede niya mag-bookies, o pwede siya gumawa ng bookies. But bees help out. Because pag nakita nyo, Arabica, when it starts to bloom, everything blooms. Okay? The same with Robusta and Canephora. Okay? But ang Canephora or Robusta is, by research of mine, that is starting na ng species na yun na pwede siyang mag-cross-pollinate. Nung nag-observe ako, nakita ko there's Serrania, there's Mellifera, there's stingless bees, and there's yung pukyutan. Kasama siya yung regular. But the first ones that come in would be the honeybees. Sila yung una na dumarating. Maliliit yung stingless bees, talo sila with the aggressiveness of the honeybees. So, tendency, late silang dumating. But they can help out with still pollination ng Robusta or Canephora. Okay? Hindi ganun kalaki, but it helps. Now, kung wala yung ibang honeybees sa area nyo, kaya niyan. Kasi ang tawag ko dito kasi niche partitioning. Na kaya niyang pumunta pupunta doon. Wala siyang kaaway na iba. Talo kasi siya ng honeybees. Ngayon, pagdating po sa Liberica, malaki ang bulaklak niya. Same with Excelsa. We have these four species. Ito po yung tinatawag na makapal yung dahon. Okay? Stingless bees would not work. For Excelsa and Liberica, stingless bees will not work. Why? Dito po siya dumadaan sa gilid. Kukuha siya ng honey, ng nectar, dadaan siya sa gilid. Hindi niya tatamaan yung anthers. Ngayon, kung anther yung pupuntahan niya, kung yung stingless bee ay para sa anther, ay para sa pollen yung kumuhanin niya, dito lang siya pupunta sa taas. So, hindi na siya pupunta dito sa ilalim. Okay? Pero din po, nauuna ang honeybees, specifically serrana for Liberica. As early as 6 a.m. Bali po kasi nagbubukas yung bulaklak at 2 a.m. And fully open na siya ng 4:30 a.m. Around 5 you smell the odor to attract the bees. Serrana comes first. Then naglagay po kasi kami ng mellifera doon. So it came second. Unfortunately, once lang merong breviligula dun sa area. And then the stingless bees come around 10, 9, 10. Tapos na po, ang Liberica is an 8 o'clock habit. Alas 8 ang pinakamalaking oras niya para sa pollination. So essentially, ganun po yung kanyang aspect. Kaya pag mag-spray or kung ano magagawin, not at the golden hour. Yun po yun, integrated task management, not at the golden hour. So yun po, pagka Techno Fora, okay naman po, ang stingless bees will be okay if it doesn't have any competitor or aggressor.
So, pwede siyang gawin more superior by the numbers.
Hindi rin po ganun kasi. Dahil yung isang piraso ng serrana, minsan natatalo talaga siya. But siguro we can do superior by the numbers. But no, kailangan po a little competition lang. Hindi siya pwedeng marami-marami. Kung hindi, ang madadali naman doon yung population ng stingless bees. Kung sobra, yung capacity, talo niya na yung hindi niya na kaya, nag-aaway na sila. Pwede naman magkaroon ng konting competition, pero wag yung to the point na mag-aaway.
Ihatag ko na lang yung sa kakao. Kasi tulad ng nasabi niyo ma'am, may specific hour lang din yung pollination ng kakao. The cacao pollination only happens during 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. Si stingless bee tulog pa. So, nandun sa farm namin, meron kami 40 hives, 40 boxes. Walang epekto yung sa observation namin for 4 months, walang epekto ang stingless bee. Basta doon yan, napakabilog ng bunga with the aid of stingless bee pollination. And what, thank you.
Before we proceed with further questions, actually, Professor Leo is accepting questions. She's online, guys. And of course, we have mics over there for your questions. So yeah, sige. Thank you.
Can I now raise my question? Mr. Pascual.
Oh yes, you can.
Okay, good afternoon. I have a question for Mr. Belisario. Sir, yung sinabi mo na the use of refined sugar may cause ulcer in bees. Tama ba? Ang pagkakaintindi ko?
Yes, ma'am.
Tapos kaya mas ina-encourage na organic sugar yung gagamitin, like with your example, cocoa sugar. So, I am now trying to contextualize that concept with our practice. Kasi we were at the very onset of our beekeeping practice. We were informed early on that brown sugar, no, although not exactly organic, but that is what is commercially available in our place. So, considering the cost of cocoa sugar as well, no? Although we know the benefits of cocoa sugar and the process it entails, but between that and brown sugar is readily available in the market and much affordable. Now, we were given that notion that brown sugar, feeding brown sugar to our bees, specifically mellifera, would make it vulnerable to fungal infection. So thus, the use of refined sugar in feeding. Now, based on our experience, since 2018, we haven't, because you are having ulcers, they can be vulnerable to chalk brood, right? Now, in our experience, we haven't observed chalk brood or experienced chalk brood with our bees with the use of our regular feeding solution. Though hindi namin alam kung anong pinifeed ng isang very popular beekeeper colleague na meron chalk brood, no? At very aggressively promoting his bees in the country. But well, putting that aside, ang amin lang is given that we're free of chalk brood, although we do not really, personally, sir, being labeled as organic is very ideal for us. Who would not desire such? But in our case, we would just be happy with being labeled as chemical free. Pero the way it is presented this afternoon, parang hindi na rin kami safe na mag-label na chemical free kami. So, how should we position ourselves?
I think Moscovado is a whole sugar also, meaning its original material are intact. Then the liquid form, molasses. Molasses are whole sugar also. So what you're trying to avoid are the refined form of sugars. How to position yourselves kung ganito ang standards natin. I think ang key is the combination of crops. Like, I appreciate the presentation of this gentleman because he's paving the way on how to combine the interaction, how to maximize the role of the bees and the requirements of the plants in terms of inflorescence and fruiting. No? So, ito yung kailangan natin, yung sinabi ko sa standards are just minimum requirements. Meaning, pagka magawa mo yung minimum or hindi mo magawa yung bawal, then pwede ka sa organic. And 1:1 ang ratio ng bawat provision. Pero itong presentation dito this afternoon, meron ng maximum approach. Meaning, if you keep on doing this from the science-based data, then you develop a practice that becomes a technology, then you're coming up with an organic system. So ito yung key. No? Kasi yung sinasabi ko lang sa minimum requirements, parang substitution lang ng inputs. Kung hindi ito pwede, anong pwede? So it is just a very minimal approach, no? Minimizing the violations in the organic standards. Pero I think ang key is not just to zero in on the beekeeping, but looking at the whole ecosystem approach. So, like example, maganda yung mga examples on durian, on coffee, on coconuts. Then ano yung mga species na pwede o ano yung combination ng mga So I think this is the key, no? Because if you're doing that, then you are promoting the symbiosis or the mutual relationship with the beings, no? The beings in because it's not just human beings. No? I think the life forms in our ecosystems are also beings, and they need respect also, and their natural system has to be followed also. So yung techniques natin on substituting during supplemental feeding is nothing compared to the natural system. So tingin ko mas ganun yung way forward para you can claim the highest possible. You are helping the environment, you are helping the bees, etc. You are helping the plants, and overall you are impacting the economy, the society, and the environment, etc.
Can I add something, Sir Alex?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mr. Belisario, for the enlightenment. I just would like to thank and congratulate Sir Alex for his presentation because it enlightened us. Because we have just a small patch of cacao and the patch, because we've been neglecting it for quite some time. Kasi ano lang yun siya, parang yun yung nakaligtaan sa thesis ko, tapos ay, babalikan, itatanim na. Kasi dapat Dalen, ano kasi siya, yung thesis ko was on grafting techniques of Theobroma cacao. Ang nangyari, I failed in the grafting techniques, kahit nga sa yung top grafting, isa lang sana success ko out of the 20 out of my 20 grafted seedlings, namatay pa because it was on a very hot summer. Tapos parang okay, asawa ko at father ko, sila yung nag-outplant ng mga grafted, hindi successful grafted seedlings. Kaya tumubo siya, we were happy about it kasi nag-yield. Pero after quite some time, it stopped, the fruiting stopped. Until early this year, nag-split sila ng Bibi at si Victor ng Biroy. Nilagay yung old, yung mother colony doon sa kalagitnaan ng cacao. I observed just recently, namumunga na siya ulit. So sabi, that's when it dawned on me now na effective pala ng pollinators yung cacao. But when you said na dapat i-open yung canopies para hindi lang sila sa periphery, I signaled to my husband, we should try that. We should try that out. Thank you so much.
Yung pong using of stainless po yung open, pero yung napansin ni sir na yung shaded, yung cacao, midges. But ang lang po sa midges is only 10 to 20% lang po na po-pollinate niya ng flower. Yung 90% po ng flowers na cacao remain unpollinated at hindi siya nagpo-form ng buds. Bakit po? Kasi po yung midges can only carry 30 pollen grains sa kanyang katawan. Ang kailangan po ng bulaklak ng cacao para ma-fully fertilize ay 250 pollen grains. Tapos, kailangan po ma-pollinate ng midges ay 30 ovules para po mabuo ng pods. Now, imagine po kung ito pa po pala, ang nagpo-pollinate lang po ng midges ay yung mga babaeng midges. So, yun po yung mga factors with regard sa pollination ng cacao. Kaya po, pinapa-study ni Dr. Rubik na kung pa pwedeng try yung ating species ng stingless bees for cacao pollination, especially for large plantations where we cannot afford yung mga magkakalat tayo sa paligid para sa nesting habitat ng mga midges, maybe we can use yung stingless bees. But for sa case po ni Sir, na sa agroforestry sila, sa lalim ng kalapit ng mga forest, ang isa po ano doon is we can provide po nesting system for midges na ikakalap po sa kakao area niya para po yung mga females doon sila mag-nest at mas magiging effective yung pollination nila. Yun po yung isang magiging technique doon. Tapos since alam ko po, member kayo ng Visayan Native Tree Enthusiast na group, we would also encourage po yung mga nandito po sa Visayas to plant native trees. Marami pong mga native trees na binibisita yung mga honeybees natin at stingless bees. Actually po, Davao po si Marvin is compiling yung mga list po ng mga trees na binibisita for nectar and pollen along with the gallen, and then nag-list din po sila ng mga trees na ginagamit for nesting ng mga native pollinators. Okay, ang isa pa po na nakaligtaan natin is may isa po sa high value crops ng Mindanao is tomato. Ano po? Tomato. Okay. Ang pollinator po ng tomato is yung bumblebee. Now, ang bumblebees po ay ini-import po natin sa bansang Israel at saka sa Netherlands. Medyo mahal po ang importation nun. But recently po, yung colleagues namin sa National Museum of History, sa UPLB, nalocate na nila yung mga locations yung mga Philippine native bumblebees. Yung pong isa ay nasa Atok Benguet at yung isa po ay nandun sa Monte Sarok sa Canada. Now, pwede po silang alagaan din natin, and then maybe we can commercialize yung production ng mga bumblebee pollinators with the help of our friend Mr. John Everett Roberts here, sir. Mr. Got to be recognized. Siya po yung maaaring maging natin resource person with regards to yung commercialization at domestication ng bumblebees natin dito sa Pilipinas. Isa pong potential din po yan, if we can tap din po yung overseas market. But the bumblebees natin, pwede po sa ating mga tomato crops, especially po yung mga large varieties na ginagamit sa mga hotels at sa mga 5-star na restaurant. So yun po yung sa pollination.
Good afternoon sa tanong mo. This question is like, sir, ano ko lang po, based on sa presentation niyo, based on sa pest and disease control, you allow solid, acid, at iba pang acid to control pest and diseases. No po sir. Clarification lang sir, i-correct mo. And then, kung allow din siya sir, why we don't have to allow yung common sugar to be used as supplemental feeding? Yun ang tanong ko sa video.
It's a major input, no? Yung pagkain. It's like parehas siya sa organic livestock. Para maging organic yung livestock mo, number one, yung stock's organic. Number two, yung feeds mo must be organic also. So, ganun din yun sa bees. Organic yung stocks natin, pero we are not feeding them with the organic food. Kaya automatic siya. Yung pest and disease na allowed materials, only when needed. No? So, ang first approach doon is yung hive and hygiene management. So kung wala kang problema, kung maayos yung hygiene or hive management mo, then you will not have these pest and diseases. No? Kaya yun ang number one. Pagka meron talaga may pest attack or may diseases, then the materials listed as allowed can be applied. Yun lang. Pero hindi siya automatic yung mga nakalista na allowed materials. You have to prove that it is necessary because there is no alternative. Sa earlier standards, yung refined sugar or any supplemental feeding material, pwede siya pag wala na talagang organic materials. So yun yung good news doon. I think it's still applicable until now. Kung wala ka talaga wala kang organic supplemental feeding material, then you can use the conventional. Pero you have to declare that na for this season, hindi organic yung aking ano. Pero sa next season, I can go back when the materials are available. Yun yung explanation niya.
Okay sir, thank you. Sa akin kasi sir, based on like, tapos kulang yung pagkain, usually to make yung colony. And then, during kasi sa honey flow, hindi mo na kasi kailangan na mag-supplemental feeding. Considering yung naglalagay ka na ng supers. So, yung supplemental feeding is goes down sa brood center ng colony, hindi doon sa supers. So, yun ang pagkakaintindi ko sir, according to the Thank you.
Alex, Sir Alex. Harder for the use of Beekeepers instead of Beroid, because considering the flower size of cacao, I guess Beekeepers will be effective because they are also small compared to Beroid.
Is to test yung native species natin. Okay? So whatever is yung nandito sa lugar, sa Mindanao, sa Visayas, sa Luzon, we will test sa cacao. Yun ang ano natin. Kasi to settle once and for all yung ano. Kasi nga, ang napopollinate lang ng ano, ng flower sa cacao is napakababa, which is why napakamahal ng tsokolate. Isipin nyo out of 1,000 flowers na pinuproduce ng cacao, only 3 ang napopollinate. Maximum is 20. Kaya kung bibilangin nyo, ilang pods per tree? Usually 20, 30 at most. Kasi yung 30, yun yung mga nagkaroon ng multiple visits ng iba't ibang pollinator species. Na halimbawa po yung midges, tapos na samahan pa yung stingless bees, tapos meron pang beetles. So yun po yung nagkakaroon ng medyo maraming ano. Ang ano po, ang approach sa cacao, kaya po ang recommendation sa cacao is agroforestry. Kasi po, maraming pollinator species dun sa lugar na kung saan yung mga iba't ibang puno at yung mga forest litter natatagpuan. Kasi po yung midges nest in forest litters. Tapos yung mga stingless bees nandun naman po sa mga puno. Tapos yung mga solitary bees, makikita nyo rin doon sa mga puno, mga nagbubor doon sa puno, like yung mga solitary bees na nakikita na maliliit, at saka po yung mga wasps also visit the cacao flowers. So in combination with midges, tumataas po ng konti yung pollinator activity, hence tumataas po yung yield ng cacao. But for yung malaking plantation na talagang clean, na tapos puro cacao lang nasa paligid, yung po mga wild pollinators na dapat po mag-interact with each other and the cacao is nalilimit na po na sa gilid. So ang suggestion po is we saturate yung area with as much as possible na mga managed pollinators like stingless bees. But the problem is the data ng Costa Rica at saka ng Colombia is ginamit nila yung species nila na mas malaki kaysa doon sa species natin. At ang recommendation is pag-aralan in combination with the cacao farmers kung sino yung effective talaga. Kung effective yung, malalaman natin sa iba't ibang species na dito sa amin kung sino yung pinaka-effective. And once we know kung sino yung pinaka-effective, mas magawa. Yung Davis mas effective kaysa Piroy. Tapos yung Iridipendence ang pinaka-effective kasi pinaka-maliit siya. Yung Puscubatiata is so-so na walang performance. Makakagawa tayo na natin ng recommendation na pwede gamitin yung species na yun for cacao pollination. So yun po yung ino-open namin yung avenue sa inyo na para po maging farmer scientist kayo. Ganun po yun natin. Since we have beekeepers and we have cacao farmers, why not usap-usap tayo.
Beekeepers/scientist.
Usap-usap. Yes sir.
Yes sir, farmer.
Yes sir.
And I'm proud to say that my farm is the farm that is being used by the Davao Regional Cacao Council as a research farm.
Oh, thank you sir.
And then we have 2 species of stingless bees being observed and studied in the farm, the Leviceps and the Beroid. But both of those species, nakikita namin, hindi nakatulong. So what we are doing is, talagang mas ginagawa namin ng environment para mas dumami yung midges. Kasi parang siya lang talaga nakikita namin na nagpo-pollinate. And there are 3 types of bulaklak ng cacao.
Ang sabihin niyo po yung nesting.
Yes, sir.
Yung po kasi po, mas kailangan yung babaeng midges.
That's what we have dito.
Wala.
Nagkakaroon kami ng tinatawag namin na mulching area. Yun yung nesting area. Dinadagdagan namin ng banana, pati yung cacao pods nilalagay namin para magiging itlugan nila. So at the same time, dumadami yung midges, dumadami din ang lamok. So yun lang yung naging problema. But kung sa pollination, kung na-observe nyo, sila lang yung pods ay doon sa park, kung bisitahin ninyo, umaabot na 180 yung pods namin per tree. Okay. So, kalawang input ko doon, siyempre, yung fertilization. Yung cacao, matakaw sa calcium at boron. Pag mababa sa calcium at boron yung area ninyo, sigurado yung bulaklak, laglag. Tsaka yung pag kulang sa calcium at boron, karamihan sa bulaklak ng cacao, nakabuka yung yung parang anthers. So pag nakabuka yun, natutuyo yung stamen. So kaya hindi na populate, hindi nakakadikit doon yung pollen.
Para po sa mangga. Yes, ang ginagawa pa namin, nag-apply kami ng boron at saka calcium. Polyam.
Yes, ganun lang din po.
But, kasi natandaan din po doon, tingnan nyo rin po yung soil ninyo kasi baka naman po na-stack yung calcium at boron sa soil pagka-water lang kasi.
So, no problem sir, kasi every 2 years kami nagpapadala sa Australia ng soil sample para nakuha namin lahat pati yung microelements. Sir.
Sa plantation yun yung stainless.
Yung nasa observation area ba, nasa 40 po. Nasa gitna
40?
ng
Okay.
area.
Ilan po yung pinopollinate niya?
Around 900 trees.
Pasok na ba yun? 300 trees, 40 colonies.
900.
900 trees, 40 colonies.
900 trees, 40 colonies.
Ilan? 8,000.
Plan yung taglagan, sir? Yung colonies.
Nag-observe ano po yun kasi you have to have it the competing population. This is one of the comment ko doon sa nag-observe ng pollination sa Canefora. Tatlong Canefora lang ginamit niya. Yung isa, 6, yung isa siya. Because hindi ko makikita ang pollination niya kasi hindi siya competing. Ay ho, ang daming pagkain. Huwag tayo magsama-sama sa isang lugar. Punta tayo doon, punta tayo doon. So, ganun po nangyayari.
Yes,
so, hopefully, the population is enough to distribute and mag-agawan sila doon sa bulaklak ng cacao.
Sir,
Yun po yung
yung isa pa sa observation namin, kahit alas 8:30 na ng umaga, kasi malamig yung area, hindi pa lumalabas yung stainless bees.
Oo, kasi yung timing kasi nung
So, hindi siya, doon sa timing ng pollination, wala siya.
Wala pa. Okay, sir. Another question. Tanong ko ako sa inyo. Baka naman po yung stainless bees ay may binibisita ang iba.
Yung stainless bees namin, yung binibisita ng iba, yung nyog tsaka yung durian.
Ayun. Pero just to say po, pagkasala po kayo ng thesis, hindi po talaga pupuntahan. Kaya po, sabi ko nga, mag-aalaga na rin kami ng beaches.
Kasi pag wala din shade, hindi rin nang-prosper yung cacao.
So, yun po. Bees and beaches na tayo ha. Mag-aalaga na tayo ng bees and beaches. May dinidevelop po kami technique ni Dr. Ruby na for mass production po ng beaches for pollination ng cacao. Para po mapamura natin yung chocolate.
Third question. Diba, you mentioned earlier that if you're going to use sugar syrup, it would somehow impair the health of our bees. Kasi si Sir mentioned kanina, pwede ba yung molasses as substitute as refined sugar?
No.
Okay. Yung molasses, actually, same problem with yung
Brown sugar.
cocoa sugar. Yung palatability sa bees. Ang question, using yung refined sugar is we cannot attain naman yung organic certification. Okay. So, ganito ang ginagawa namin para ma-overcome yung problema na yun. Okay, we did this in Real Quezon. So, kinausap namin yung mga nagana ng roast ng coco sugar. Bibili namin yung coco sap. Instead na bibili kami ng coco sugar, bibili namin yung coco sap. Yung coco sap ang pinapakain namin. Yung molasses, palatability ang issue eh. Tapos pag bumili ka naman ng brown sugar, may washed or yung brown na market sugar, ang problema mo naman doon, magkakaroon ka ng nosema. Kasi pag nagkanasin mo lang mag-ferment yun, nosema, disease. Kung tataya mo buyog mo. So yun yung So what we found out is, pipili nila, mas better pa performance ng bees kapag ang pinipin ko sa kanila ay yung coco sap. Or kahit yung mga sap na nagpapangpag.
Kasi yung last stage sir, may content nila kaysa wala.
Palatability, acceptability ng bees, at saka yung problema na yung mixture na kung ano ginagawa. Unless you're sure on how you extract yung molasses.
Sir, another question, sir. See, I find the presentation fascinating yung data na which, we call this yung yields ng mga fruits. Is there a book where it's indicated where yung mga, for example, this particular flower or fruit is being visited by this particular bee, and then ito po yung yield ng mga fruits niya. Parang reference for everyone so that you can see na, okay, ito pa na farm is better, wala suited to put these particular bees than this kind of bee. Is there a book here in the Philippines na ganun? Wala na? Parang information for farmers and all.
Ay ko? Actually, kinakumpal ko pa lang eh. Nasaktan ako doon. Aray ko. Hintayin natin na tapos ihahanap ko na siguro funding sa DA for publication. Or better siguro kung i-involve ko yung DA par yung Bureau of Agricultural Research to publish the material.
Yun yung sinasabi ko earlier, na yung combination ng species at yung commodity. Pagka may data na, then you can come up kung paulit-ulit na yung gagawin, and that becomes a technology or a technique. So doon na papasok yung book na sinasabi mo, o hinahanap mo. Okay? Merong shorter way of doing it, especially yung mga proven practices. We were discussing with Albert kanina on collective mark. Okay. Personally, I've done also some work with the Intellectual Property Office on collective marks. Ang particular experience ko sa bees on CN, itong tinalak, Lake Cebu tinalak, yung kanilang abaca fiber crop. Okay? Makintab siya, no? You can just imagine yung abaca naging makintab. Paano nila ginawa yan? So, dalawang material. One is cowrie shell. So, nirarap nila yan ng cowrie shell. At ang smoothening niya is yung keyword na beeswax or yung stainless bees. So, it's been done by the tribes for several generations. So, yun yung part. Pero, yung gawain niya is a verbal tradition. It's handed down from generation to generation by getting it from their grandparents. No? So, ginawa namin yan, yung paggawa ng tinala from step 0 to the final process, we were able to capture it from Tivoli to English to Tagalog. Okay? So yung steps na yun, we call it code of practice. It's like your standards. So kung i-specify mo yung commodity, plus you match it with the species, and the human intervention, which are the practices, then you can have a code of practice for each commodity specific to the species. So, kung magawa niyo ito sa cacao, sa durian, sa banana, sa mango, then you can have a quality mark or collective mark applicable to certain commodity in certain geographic region. So, yun yung isang way forward on how to maximize this knowledge being shared with the body. The other one is we modeled sa collective mark yung Guimaras Mango. So, the past few months, medyo sikat yung launching ng geographic indication. Mango as a geographic indication of original product from Guimaras. So we did the same sa Guimaras. We captured their practices from step 1 to the final step. Now then from there, gumawa kami ng code of practice owned by the Guimaras Mango growers. So they own that code of practice. It's practiced by the whole island. Then they registered it as a protected intellectual property right. So yun yung way forward. Ang kasmaan lang dun sa Guimaras Mango, of course kasama sa code of practice nila yung heavy spraying of pesticides and insecticides, including herbicides. So patay lahat ko ng mga pollinators. Yun lang ang banda. Pero I think ang technique is itong way forward, yung ginagawa yung data generation or science-based approach. Ito yung magandang you interact with the practitioners, the farmers, tapos you combine the knowledge gathered on the ground plus the science, the research information, then you can come up with several code of practice per commodity, per region. Then you can protect that as your own intellectual property right with the IP of Philippines. You can register it as a geographical indication of product or collective mark, a lower form of a GI product.
Actually po, yun yung gusto namin i-promote. Sinimulan po namin yan sa PCA. Ang target po namin is tie beekeeping with a commodity. Kasi po, kailangan mag-grow ng beekeeping. In what way, better way to grow beekeeping as an industry, but than tying it with a commodity. And we approach PCA pinapakilala namin yung bees for pollination. Unfortunately, lukewarm ang ano nila. Kasi ang sabi nila sa amin, kailangan pa talaga ng pollination. Okay? So, shows you how much you can expect from the government. So, yun po. Kaya po, ginawa namin, okay, mabuti na po, nag-inquire sa amin yung isang corporation. Pwede ko pa sabihin dahil? Hindi. Okay. But suffice to say, there's an international corporation. Okay. It's an international corporation, Philippine. Local, okay. It's a locally based corporation and it supplies coconut products to international market like Mars chocolate and cocoa oil to various other buyers. They are interested in increasing the number of nuts produced by the Philippines to increase their oil production. So they approached us and they wanted to incorporate beekeeping in all the coconut growing areas from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Okay, so they are funding training for beekeepers and they're actually trying to come up with a way of how to help beekeepers expand the colony holdings of the Philippines because right now the colony holdings of the Philippine colony holdings is not enough to cover the coconut growing areas of the entire country. So they need more bees and beekeeper for more coconuts. So yun po yung since wala tayong magawa sa government, mabuti nila lumalapit ang private sector. At yun po nakikita ko dito sa Mindanao. So since we have the beekeepers na are also farmers na sa kakao at sa durian, then perhaps we can do the same approach to further our common interest, which is food security and productivity.
Thank you for that. And I know you're all still very interested to ask more questions for our respected speakers. Pero we are going to allow only 2 more questions na lang, starting with Sir Edwin and lastly si Sir Victor. Okay.
Increase yield ng coconut 30 to 70% depending on the ibig sabihin yan kahit walang application ng fertilizer, ganoon pa rin ang magiging epekto. Just a clarification. Thank you.
actually po, in horticultural practice, will also affect po yung kaya po nabanggit ko sa inyo, yung plant pollinator interaction. So, kung hindi po maganda ang health ng halaman, hindi po siya magpo-provide ng attractant sa bees na yung flower at pollen. So, yung kanyang magiging pollen magiging substandard, low quality protein, at hindi attractive sa bees. Yung nectar niya, wala po siyang to-produce. So, ang key po sa coconut pollination is providing yung good cultivars, good horticultural practice, at saka po yung pollination. Now, ina-address po nung ito is yung pollination kasi the way we see it po, government is addressing yung mga fertilizers. Namimigay sila ng fertilizers ng mga farmers, horticulturists, yung mga agriculturists natin na nag-assist sa mga farmers. But since time immemorial, hindi po natin i-increase yung nut production dahil nga po, ang kulang natin is pollinator. So, yun po ang ginagawa natin kasi nga po yung coconut plantation naglalawak. But yung pollinators, nasa gilid lang. Isang example namin po ay sa Sariaya, Quezon. Sariaya, Candelaria. Okay, meron po kasi doon isang coconut growing area. Ngayon po, meron isang tao doon na nag-alaga ng stingless bees. Nag-alaga siya ng stingless bees, mga 30 colonies ng stingless bees. Nilagay niya sa tabi ng bahay niya. And then napansin nung angle niya na yung lahat ng puno, 120 meters away from doon sa bahay, namunga ng mas marami kesa doon sa beyond 120 meters away ng kanyang bahay. So ang ginawa ng mag-ama, magtito, nagparami sila, kinausap ng mga kapitbahay, nagparami sila ng stingless bees. At napansin nila na yung kanilang harvest is nag-double. So every 120 meters, naglalagay sila ng mga colonies ng stingless bees para ma-double yung harvest na kanilang coconut. So ang description nila in broad terms is dati ang harvest nila is parang isang kabayo lang per tree. Ngayon, naging 2 kabayo per tree. So, ganun yung kanilang naging experience sa coconut growing area. Ang nilagay nila is stingless bees.
May hapon. Mr. Rizal. Sir, we are exploring for our hive or stingless or sa from bamboo material, no? Engineered bamboo. So the component of, the chemicals that are used for treating these bamboos, especially giant bamboo, are borax and boric acid. So my first question is, okay lang ba na sa organic certification?
Para sa yung borax at boric acid?
Treatment, sir. To make the bamboo last for para hindi kainin ng lubog.
Okay. Sa standards, sa PMS, may annexes for food processing, aids and ingredients. So you refer to Annex 2 kung ang borax is allowed or restricted material or prohibited. So that way yan. Allowed, restricted, prohibited. Pag prohibited, absolutely not allowed. Pag restricted, you are allowed, but you have to ask permission or get those signal from your market or from your certification body. So hindi lang ako familiar kung saan nakalagay ang category ng borax.
So my next question is, kasi parang ang engineering bamboo kasi parang glue. So ngayon yung tanong is yung chemicals or mga components na paggawa ng glue, yun na lang yung tanong kung yung chemicals na
Hindi nga question sa lamin bamboo, is it na-retain ba yung natural material niya after, siguro ng treatment then the glue para they will stick together, no? So the same thing, no? If you look at the materials sa glue, kung ano yung active ingredients niya, no? Kung latex, kung mga natural na glue, then posible. Yun.
Thank you, sir. All right, and let's give our speakers a round of applause. And now I would like to present the certificates for our speakers. May I call on the BNet chapter presidents? Here, Franyo. Sir Epifanio Loyola Jr., Sir Alberto Marcia, and Sir overseeing the pads. Alright. And may I request the presence of Ma'am Dalen? So we are giving the certificate of recognitions for their exemplary contribution as resource speaker of the 27th BNet Conference and Techno Fora in Davao region on August 17 to 19, 2023 at Ritz Hotel Garden Oases of Davao City. With the theme Aligning Apiculture to Agri-Eco Awareness given this 18th day of August 2023 at Davao City, Davao del Sur. So first, I will give the certificate to Mr. Alejandro C. Fajardo. Next is I'm going to give the certificate to Mr. Patrick Belisay. Sila pala mo hatag guys, ito lang. And last, sino po mag-represent kay Kayo? Right, sige. Guys, again, another round of applause for our speakers and our presidents. Officers, I would like to notify everyone that the souvenirs can now be collected on the registration booth. And of course, included within the booklet is a message from our beloved Vice President, Ms. Sara Duterte. And then after that, you can go to your rooms. And of course, I would like to call on Ms. Dalen for any other updates regarding BNet.
Sabi ko yung overexposed. Sorry po, ganun daw talaga pag sexy tayo. Okay po. The next part of the program supposedly is a sharing of bee research and development, because there are several universities that do research and development or researches from bee biology, pest and diseases. Unfortunately, no one submitted to an abstract. So we're moving up the schedule. So we'll have the regional meeting. So the different presidents will hold an individual meeting to discuss about issues and concerns. So tomorrow bale, summarize na natin. So ngayon, mag-grupo for an hour. Then right after the grouping,
Be amazed. Be fascinated. Together, let's explore the wonders of bees and its importance in our ecosystem. Be one of us. Be a beekeeper.